how does trauma, so either trauma resulting from a loss, trauma resulting from birth trauma, trauma resulting from abuse or violence, how does all of that come out in terms of pelvic pain or lower back pain? And how does that come up in your experience? And not only do we want to discuss the problem, we can also discuss some of the solutions that you help me with and you help other people with.
So trauma could stay in our body and stay in our tissues even after the event is over. What our society tells people to do is anytime there's a pelvic floor dysfunction is do those Kegels. And what Kegels are pelvic floor contractions. If your muscles are already tight and they're already hypertonic, then we shouldn't be adding more tone. We're not trying to build more tone onto tight muscles.
With the fight, flight, freeze response, that shows up in our body after a trauma, even years after a trauma, the body has this stress response of clamping down and of automatically clamping down on whatever it is, because it's like, no, ain't nothing going through here.
If we had to label and categorize the muscles, I would say that it would show up more as a hypertonicity. So the muscles are tight, and that's our survival reaction. We can't control it.
When there's trauma, often there's so much dissociation. So whether it's trauma that's causing the dissociation or chronic pain that's causing the dissociation in the pelvic muscles, that's preventing them from having pleasure. The first thing is to just say, I have these body parts and they're mine, and breathing into them and getting blood flow back to them, reconnecting safety and power and control with your own body parts. That could even just start with, let me notice it. It's part of my body again.
People that have had stillborn babies, often the pushing time is a little longer because the body intuitively knows, so it'll take them a little longer to get to the place where they're ready to have their baby. People that have experienced childhood abuse, there seems to be a lot of blood in these situations. These women seem to be, they bleed a lot, not a dangerous amount, but there's more bleeding than usual. During the actual pushing phase, when the baby actually has to go through that confused area, women tend to really close in on themselves. Now, the danger there is that sometimes that closing in manifests itself physically, so the baby and the mother decide, no, there's no way I'm pushing this baby out, and then they'll end in C-section. One of them is healing through pregnancy and childbirth, and the other is healing from pregnancy and childbirth. So those are two very different things.
People come into labor and delivery and pregnancy and motherhood with their trauma already.
The body will remember everything we've been through because it remembers in the form of sensation. And all it often takes is another experience later on in our lives that will trigger a similar sensation in the body, and that will activate the old experience. But whether the mind remembers or not, the body keeps the score. Before you move to talk therapy and before you move even to SE, you're recommended to do things like yoga and Qigong and Tai Chi, energy work, essentially.
With me being in health and fitness, it has helped me tremendously to not only build character, but to build my self-esteem, my self-confidence, and not to mention this beautiful body that I have. Keep progressing, keep moving, and make a change in any way you know how. Your voice should always be heard.
Part of healing from trauma is jumping in and saying, I can do this again, but this time it will feel a lot better.